What's up, guys? It's Palomino here, out in the 2006 GT today. Been a while since I've had it out on the road. It's about, I don't know, 60 or 65 degrees today, and real nice day out, so I figured I had a little bit of time. I figured I'd take it on a little short drive. Had to, you know, check the fluids and air the tires up and stuff like that before I left, where it's been sitting a while. Head out the city part here and head, you know, on some of the two-lane back roads if I can make my way over there without too much traffic. Kind of middle of the afternoon, so I've got kind of a short window of time between, you know, lunchtime being earlier and then the evening rush hour when everybody's heading home, you know, to get in and out of you know, the back to home base kind of thing, you know. But anyway, like I said, we got a little bit of time, about an hour and a half, something like that, so I'm gonna try and get some drive time in, like I said, before that rush hour crowd heads out. A couple of things I got to do to this car, just that are due to the age of it. One thing I got to do is outer tie rod replacement, coming up when I'm able to afford it. My outer tie rods are wore out. They're not completely shot to the point I can't drive the car or anything like that, but they're definitely they are to the point where they're kind of affecting the handling a little bit. You can tell in the steering, the handling is not as tight as it you know, normally should be. So I gotta get that and take care of that, and also want to change out my power steering fluid in this car. So that's two things right there that I want to do, kind of, you know, general preventative maintenance type stuff, I guess. Tie rods is kind of more of a repair, but yeah, I call it preventative maintenance because due to the age of the car, you know, it's not out of reason for it to be time to replace them. So yeah, I got to get those two things done, and then I have a couple of other things that I want to do, you know, that'll come after that, because I got to, you know, realistically got to focus on what needs doing, and that's repairs and preventative maintenance first. But got a couple of things I'm gonna get. I want to try and, I've got one oil separator on the driver's side, cylinder bank, JLT, but I want to get the passenger side JLT oil separator to work in conjunction with the one I currently have, just to keep that, you know, oil vapor out of the intake track and everything. But I think those things are about, I don't know, anywhere from 135 to 140 bucks. So again, that'll be something I'll do when I can afford to do it. But so yeah, that's one thing I'm considering, and got a couple of other things I'm looking at that I'm not really sure about. I mean, you know, I know that's one thing definitely I want want to do. I might look into putting a hood pin kit on here. I had hood pins years ago with my stock hood, and when I replaced my stock hood with this aftermarket hood, the kit that I had, it would not work with this aftermarket hood, and I've got my eye on a set of hood pin kit from CJ Pony Parts, made by Scott Drake. It's got billet aluminum and stainless steel hardware. So I want to, thinking about putting that on possibly. Since I'm running this aftermarket Sereni's heat extractor hood, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a little bit of extra insurance, you know, high speeds and stuff, to keep the hood in place in case the hood latch were to fail. And two, you know, I've always been a big fan of the hood pins, so it would just add to, you know, the aggressive look of the car as well as being functional. Out here to the back roads, just did a little fourth gear pull right there up to 100. Because they got road work going on up here in these S curves. I don't know what they're doing exactly. I haven't been through here in a couple of months now, so last time I came through here, they weren't doing any road work. I see they got signs up and cones on the side of the road. I tell you, these cool days like this in the 60s, 65 degrees, even, you know, 70 degrees, not much higher than that. You know, that's good air temperature for making horsepower. I mean, you can tell when you get in your car and how much more responsive, you know, and, you know, energetic the engine feels when you have that kind of ambient temperature outside. It's just it's a world of difference, you know, compared to in the summertime when it's 80, 90, you know, 100 degrees and humid outside and stuff like that. It's just, this is like, you know, the perfect air temperature. This car loves it. You know, 65, 60, 65, 70 degrees. Another thing under the preventative maintenance that I was talking about earlier, I want to try and get I want to try and replace the cabin air filter in this car. It's been a while since that's been replaced, and it's overdue to be replaced in here, so I definitely need to do that. Basically, you know, that just filters out the air for the HVAC system coming in. Mustang community, or really I just say in any community, car community that is somewhat performance minded. I mean, it could be, you know, it could be a Chevrolet, a Dodge, a Ford, a Subaru, you know, whatever brand it is, you know, if it's a performance minded vehicle, you know, that people idolize, you know, from an automaker like that. You know, a lot of people, I feel like it, you know, they think that if they don't have an excessive amount of mods to a car, that it means that, you know, like they kind of look down on people who don't have, like, say for instance, like, I'm going to use the Mustang community for an example, and I'm not saying that it's like this with everybody and everybody thinks like this, because that wouldn't be true, but I see it a lot. You know, it's a vibe you kind of pick up on it, you know, that it's kind of like you got a Mustang, for instance, and it doesn't have, you know, a supercharger or a turbocharger or a nitrous on it, or some, you know, crazy, you know, expensive mod like that, and pushing 700, 800, 900 horsepower, whatever. I mean, you know, 600. I mean, what, you know, whatever it may be. Basically, it's almost like the folks that don't have that or can't afford to do that stuff, it's almost like they don't have anything in the eyes of others. You know, I grew up, you know, I didn't have a lot of money growing up. I still don't have a lot of money, you know, and I know my granddad told me a long time ago when I was a kid, you know, he would tell me, you know, there are things for a working man, and there are things that aren't for a working man. And, you know, and the things that aren't for a working man are the things that the average working man cannot put his hand on. You know, he may aspire or dream to have them, but he can't financially afford them being a working man. You have to be a wealthy person, or somebody has to be putting money in your pocket for you to be able to, you know, to do these things outside of, you know, of what a working man can afford. And that goes from anything like from buying a vehicle. I mean, you know, let's face it, these days, vehicles, I mean, they have just skyrocketed in prices. You know, from when I bought this car right here to now, what a Mustang GT costs now is like more than double the price. And it's hard to believe, you know, I mean, but it's a sign of how things go up, you know, cost of materials and things go up, you know, and these manufacturers keep gradually increasing the prices. And you know, and sometimes, with that being said, if a working man does not, you know, constantly get a cost of living adjustment raise in his or her salary, it makes it tough to afford things, you know, especially coming out buying something that's new, or you know, these high performance vehicles that are out now. Heck, even trucks have gotten out of reason. I mean, you know, it's nothing now for a truck to cost $50,000 or $60,000, maybe even more. And who wants, you know, honestly, you go out and pay that kind of money, I'd be afraid to work with it. I'd be afraid to put a truck to work costing that kind of money, just for the simple reason that I spend all that money on it. I don't know. I mean, that's like buying that's like a luxury vehicle kind of, you know, price. There was a time when those prices were reserved for almost like exotic cars and high-end, you know, luxury cars and things like that. And now you got pickup trucks costing that kind of money. But what I'm getting at is the average working man, you know, most of the time that's, you know, that's out of their reach. and getting back to what I was saying about performance stuff and things, I'm very thankful for what I have. You know, I don't have a supercharger or a turbo on this car. I don't have nitrous, but it still is very fast in my book. No, it's not going to outrun everything on the road, and I don't care if it does or not. It don't matter to me. It will go as fast as I physically can go on a public road. You know, and if I was racing the car or something like that competitively, you know, it might be a different story, but that's, you know, that's not the case. I enjoy it for what it is. It runs good, it's reliable. You know, the mods that I have done, why in the eyes of some may be nothing, they mean a lot to me. They're what I have been able to afford to do over the time that I have owned this car. And, you know, and I think anybody who is, you know, in a similar situation like that, you know, you be proud of, you know, what you have and everything. I hear a lot of people all the time talk about, oh, well, you know, they may say it jovially, you know, kind of or jovial nature when they say it. You know, they'll say, well, you know, oh, my car is slow, you know, or it's not, you know, it's not fast or whatever like this. I'll tell you, I started out, I wanted, when I got my license, I wanted to get a Mustang as my first car. I wanted just to get, you know, I would have settled for a V6 Mustang, but I couldn't afford a V6 Mustang, not used. I couldn't afford the insurance on it. And I started out with a 1968 Volkswagen. And it wasn't just a plain Volkswagen. I mean, it was, you know, it had been tricked out. It had been, you know, lowered and customized, you know, French tail lights, you know, a whole lot of different things about it. The back seat had been taken out, custom stereo box in the back, and just a whole lot of custom touches to it. I mean, as far as those cars went, it was a California look, was the style customizing that had been done to the car. And I was very, I mean, when I got that car, it was something that I could afford both to buy and pay the insurance on. And I enjoyed it. It was not fast. I mean, you know, it was a 4-cylinder. It put out about 70 horsepower. It was all it put out. It was a 1600cc air-cooled 4-cylinder engine, horizontally posed, putting out about 70 horsepower. It sounded good, and, you know, it was, I guess as far as those go, I mean, it was, you know, it could be considered kind of peppy for that particular car, but by no means was it fast. You know, you get on the interstate and you'd struggle to do 65, 70 miles an hour out there. So what I'm trying to get at is that when I hear people in the performance community, like the Mustang community, they'll say they got a Mustang GT, whether it's, you know, one this model or they've got one that came before this, you know, and they'll say, oh, it's slow and it's slow. Well, yeah, it may be slow by standards of somebody who's got a nitrous supercharger or turbo on theirs, but I think, you know, you have to look at it in perspective that if I had been in that position and my first car was a Mustang GT or a Mustang V6, whatever, or any other kind of performance car for that matter, I would have, you know, comparing it to what I started out driving, it would be a world of difference. And, you know, I think it's all about, you know, where I came from, you know, I was taught, you know, you appreciate what you have, you know, and You know, you have to take everything you can, and you know, and basically just you know, just be appreciative of what you got, because you know, it's not just like me. I wanted a Mustang. I wanted a performance car when I started out driving, but I couldn't afford one. So, you know, I had to work my way up, and this is the first Mustang I bought. But it took me some time, you know. It took me a good while before I was able to do that. And you know, goals are attainable as long as you keep them realistic to your, you know, don't live outside of your means. And you know, just be thankful for what you got. And you know, and just because you don't have, you know, you don't have, like I said, power, some kind of big power adder or some race motor, or you know, you're able to outrun everything out there on the road, does not mean your car's slow, or doesn't mean that you don't have anything. You know, it is what it is. You know, just be thankful for what you got. And like I said, you know, I think as far as the car community goes, I think it's important that we, you know, we all show respect, you know, for everybody in the community, because everybody can't afford to do these crazy mods and things like that. You know, it's just, when you factor in having bills and things like that, plus preventative maintenance, upkeep, and things like that on a vehicle, you have to think realistically, you know. And heck, I tell you like this, I mean, it matters more to me to keep the car running and keep it reliable and be able to put a good tank of gas in it than it does for me to go out and go belly up on spending money on a supercharger or a turbo just because I think somebody else is going to think better of me. It would mean more to me to be able to get out and drive the car and not feel like that I'm, you know, I'm not limited in that way. Back to the garage, though. Put the GT up. I just, like I said, I wanted to touch on that a little bit, you know, because it's a vibe I pick up on, and I see it throughout my years, you know, being in the car community, you know. And I just feel like that it, you know, we all need to take a step back and look at it from that perspective and realize that it's, you know, we all have to live realistically inside our means, not outside our means. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Going to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notifications. And I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.